Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Flower of Life reading by Cyborg_165. Um, so we're just following up with pole shift triggers. And welcome to sunny California. Sunny California. Okay. So here we go. Thank you guys for spending some time with me. And I came to the beach to do a reading. By now, there have been many people trying to figure out what could cause a pole shift. What are the dynamics? Yeah, speaking of that, like they said there's a pole shift. They said it happened. I know I said it in my last videos. I kind of remember. So, I mean, we would have felt it, but the weather has been changing a lot. And it's pretty hot right now. So I'm like, and it's supposed to be kind of coldish. It's like goes and it comes. But here we go. I digress. What's the trigger that makes it happen? There's a book by John White, who's also an Edgar Cayce advocate, who has compiled almost all the information in the world on this subject. Though he does not mention, I believe, the particular information on the last magnetic shift being in Hawaii, this book is called Pole Shift, of course. It's a very scientific and interesting book. If you read it, you'll get an excellent understanding of this subject, which is vast and amazing. Yeah, speaking of the pole shift, who knows? Like, there's a lot of eruptions going on in Iceland, and it's just a sign that the world is very unstable right now with the wars and Mother Nature. She's, unpredictable, but they're trying to predict her with all their technology. So here we go. There are two main stories right now about what the trigger could be that would cause the poles to move. One of them is obvious, and the other more subtle. Something. The obvious one is called the Brown theory, named after huge Uchin Schloss Brown, I butchered it, who conceived this idea. His theory is that for some reason the South Pole began to form off center, which is exactly what's happening now. Then it built up quite rapidly towards the end of the cycle, which is also exactly what's happening now, until one day it breaks free from the centrifugal force of the Earth's rotation. It's just like a spinning object. When something is off-center, it throws the whole object off-center and forces it to find a new equilibrium. If the weight of the ice keeps building and building, eventually something's going to happen. The Earth can't keep spinning in the same rotational position. It will find a new pole that is centered. Yet there are some scientists who believe that the mass of ice at the South Pole is not enough to trigger a pole shift. As a matter of fact, the ice at the South Pole is in some places is over 3 miles deep and buildings, especially rapidly over the last 20 years, faster than ever expected, probably because of the greenhouse effect. And today there are 3 enormous volcanoes underneath the ice pack that can be seen from our satellites. It's melting the underside of the ice cap, and huge rivers are flowing out from beneath it at this very moment. Perhaps this fact was not entered into the equation by the doubting scientists. If that ice cap, which is twice the size of the United States, were to break free, it's been calculated that it would move towards the equator at 1,700 miles an hour to find balance, according to John White. That would obviously cause some problems here and there. Brown's theory appears to be happening, but it's not a certainty. I mean, this book was written like 3 years ago, so they have been melting at a fast rate, and there's been a lot of stuff happening, the last 30 years. Tsunamis, all the tsunamis. So if a tsunami would happen right now, I'm done for. But see, over there, that's beautiful Carolina. Island of the Carolina. Got the focus. Far There you go. That's Catalina over there. There was giants over there. However, someone has offered another theory, on which even Albert Einstein considered seriously, that holds a possible answer to the equation that unbelieving scientists have used. His name is Charles Hapgood. He and other scientists who worked with him discovered at least 2 layers of unusual rock underneath the Earth crust, which liquefies under certain conditions. Other scientists have demonstrated this in laboratories where they put the same kind of rock into a miniature Earth and duplicated it. The conditions of the inner Earth. From this experiment, they found that the surface of the crust of the Earth can slip over the main mass of the Earth, which continues in rotation as if nothing had happened. It can happen, but of course, we do not know if it will actually happen in real time. They don't know the specifics of how this would work, such as what triggers could cause this slippage. Charles Hapgood wrote 2 books, Earth's Shifting Crust and The Path of the Pole, that will probably eventually change our view of our world dramatically. Okay. So, there's a lot going on here. How about he said the Earth, they made a miniature Earth. So I talked in my last video, what about if you did it? So I guess they did it right here. But so there's, where are they doing all these things at? Building all these miniature Earths and stuff. Yeah, and there's a lot been going on in the world, and I wish, I had more time to talk to you guys about it, or my ideas or things, but there's so much going on in the world, and we just gotta be grateful for the time we have. So here we go. I digress. Albert Einstein wrote the foreword to Charles Hapgood. First book, Earth Shifting Crust. I feel it is important enough to reprint here directly. I frequently receive communications from people who wish to consult me concerning their unpublished ideas. It goes without saying that these ideas are very seldom possessed of scientific validity. The very first communications, however, that I received from Mr. Hapgood electrified me. His idea is original, of great simplicity, and if it continues to prove itself of great importance to everything that is related to the history of Earth's surface, the author has not confined himself to a simple presentation of his ideas. He also sets forth cautiously and comprehensively the extraordinarily rich material that supports his displacement theory. I think that this rather astonishing, even fascinating, idea deserves the serious attention of anyone who concerns himself with the theory of the Earth's development. It is a given that Albert Einstein was one of the most brilliant humans who have ever lived, yet few geologists even yet believe such an outrageous theory. Only in more recent times has proof begun to accumulate that such things could be true. The same scientific world didn't believe Mr. Einstein either when he said how much energy was contained within a very small amount of matter. It is my belief that the trigger to the pole shift is connected with geomagnetism, geomagnetism of the Earth. This would take a long time to explain, which I am not prepared to do here at this time. What is known is that for the last 500 years, the Earth's magnetic field has been continually weakening. And in the last few years, it has been doing absolutely bizarre things, according to Greg Bergen, an awakening to 0 point. The collective initiation, the Earth's magnetic field actually began to weaken about 2,000 years ago. Then around 500 years ago, the weakening rally began to accelerate. Could it be 520 years? This would match the Mayan calendar, which predicted a huge change at the time. In recent times, the magnetic field is making unheard of changes. Maybe like in 2,000 years ago, supposedly that's when Jesus Christ was here, and that's when he was trying to elevate consciousness. Maybe it's like everything's related. Like the magnetic energy in the Earth affects the magnetic brainwaves of people, and and there's a lot of things been happening that they're saying 500 years, 2005. So we know a lot of things happen in the Mayan calendar shift. A lot of things. So magnetic flow changes. It has a diagram of a magnetic flow change. The idealized lines of magnetic flow. You see coming out in coming out in Taurus around the Earth are not what geologists have found. The reality is that the magnetic lines look rather like straight waving patterns. They're fixed, but they're not precise in that idealized kind of way. And there are certain areas where they're stronger and other areas where they're weaker. These lines normally do not move, but because the field is getting so weak, they are getting to move and change. The birds, animals, and fish, and the dolphins and whales and other creatures use these magnetic lines for their migration patterns. So if the magnetic lines change, their migration patterns go off, which is what we're seeing all over the world right now. Birds are flying to places they're not supposed to be, and whales are beaching themselves on land where it's supposed to be water. As far as they're concerned, they're simply following the magnetic line they've followed for centuries, and they're running into land that wasn't on that line. Interesting. Very interesting. So, could we be magnetically tuned to the Earth too, where people are driven to different locations? Maybe like how that destiny manifestation, when the settlers came here, they were saying it was a manifestation destiny or something. So, but they're pushing onward. Like people are always going somewhere, like going some direction. And animals too. So maybe the animals are coming to these areas because maybe in the future they're going to be like filled with water because everything's changing. So the ocean tides are going to rise, and eventually, like, they're just trying to make their ways up here. Something like that. What do y'all think? Do you think the Earth is magnetically in tune with us and we're magnetically attached? Maybe that's why we can't fly, because we're like magnets, we're like stuck. When this magnet fields pass to 0 point and completely change, which they may do very soon, we'll have another subject to talk about what happens then. You see, we believe our very memory is tied to those fields. You can't remember anything without these magnetic fields. In addition, your emotional body is tied powerfully to the magnetic fields. As if they change, your emotional body is radically affected. It's easy to understand that the moon affects the tides of the world through the pull of gravity. We also know that the magnetic fields of the Earth are slightly affected by the phases of the moon. When the moon is full and passes overhead, we get a slight bulge and change in the magnetic field of the Earth. Just look at what happens in big cities during a full moon. The day before, the day of, and the day after the full moon, we have more rapes, murders, and killings and weirdness of this nature than we do for the rest of the entire month. The police blotter of any major city will verify that. Why? Will verify that. Why? Because these fields especially affect people who are right on the edge of emotional instability, who are barely able to cope during normal times. They're right on the edge. Then the moon comes along and moves the magnetic field just a little bit, and the person experiences an emotional dip and does things he or she normally wouldn't do. They say that too with the werewolves and people and the bloodlust and everything. Maybe it's like, you gotta control the energies that are in the force fields all around us. They're like patterns and grids, I guess. It's like something like that. And it's just very interesting because we've been saying that for years. Beautiful out here, so here we go. So imagine what would happen if the geomagnetic field of the Earth starts destabilizing. I heard in October 1993 from someone who is involved in aviation that in the last 2 weeks of September, major landing strips had to recalibrate their guidance systems because the magnetic field made a unilateral shift all over the planet. It seemed to be temporary, lasting about 2 weeks. At that time, you might have remembered an incredible emotional outburst within yourself and people around you. In my world, I'm on the phone with people from all over the world. People were freaking out everywhere. That's why I suspected that maybe what I heard might really be true. If it's true, then we are in the beginning process to proceed up almost certainly into the next phase of this work. These breakdowns in the magnetic field of the Earth will begin to come closer and closer together until there is a total collapse of the field and the shifting of poles. This is one of the signs of the very end. So this could be relevant to what's happening right now. If everything is shifting, these earthquakes, the Icelandic volcano, and all this, bloodshedding, people fighting all over the world, Ukraine, Russia, Hamas, Israel, the people in the jungles. Man, there's been so much things going on the last, you guys know, years. Like, this planet is just based upon wars and wars. Death and concrete and taking over. So it's just, we got technology involved, so things can be documented more. But things are already documented, like if you, history, it's just filled with wars and destruction, and civilizations getting wiped out, destroyed, and you know, it's like it never ends. So maybe the magnetic poles are what affect people to drive them to do things and to put ideas in their mind. You think about all these great kingdoms thousands of years ago, hundreds, they couldn't live together. They couldn't live as neighbors, most of them, you know? But think about all the people, how do you say, a one world planet. Like, they all came together, those kingdoms came together, and instead of the course that we went in, we went in a different course where all the kingdoms united, and it was like a global trade, like 1,000 years. I'm sure there would have been like conflicts, but it would have changed the direction of this planet in thousands of years of people, kingdoms, because you have great armies and power. Why were they really fighting for more land, more stuff, more metamaterials, gold, like things to build things like Minecraft, but what are things? What are things but just things? So there you go. There's no reason to get into fear about any of this, even though what's happening is unusual. We've all been through these kinds of things many, many times before. This is not unusual for you, though most of you have very little memory of it. When you actually start going through the dimensional shift and get into the feel of it, you'll say, oh yeah, I remember this now. Here we go. Here we are, going through this birth again. So it's not a big deal, yet it is. He's like talking about reincarnation right here, like past memories of our lives. You guys have any past memories of your lives you'd like to share? I would like to hear it. You came from somewhere else when you were born as a baby, right? You came from some other dimension and you passed through a void and you came out through the womb to Earth. You traveled this path before and we're about to do a similar kind of thing, only it's really unusual. One, this time there's no reason to fear it when you know all of it and remember who you are. In fact, what's occurring is extremely positive. It's very, very beautiful. Very good. Harmonic and disharmonic levels of consciousness. The Sanskrit literature talks about how when we approach the lower oval at A in figure 240, in the procession, we become aware of electrical energies. We can fly in the sky. We can do many unusual things. The world becomes extremely unstable, and in a single day we get rid of the old way of viewing the world and make a huge transformation in consciousness. But as we approach this transformation, given the particular levels of consciousness we have, we tend to destroy everything we touch. It's a natural part of who we are. We're not doing anything wrong. It's just the way we are. We're doing it exactly right. We destroy everything. We cause everything to go into disharmony. I'll be talking about this later, but I think it would be appropriate to tell you this much now. It makes sense. When you use the magnetic fields, maybe the ancient people knew how to use the magnetic fields, and well, because you get the energy from the universe, right? So you harness all the energy from the magnetic fields and you go inside your body, because when we're grounded, the resonance, we create energy, and we can release it through our hands and our feet and shit, maybe our third eye, like the laser eye. But makes sense these people back then probably had those secret abilities. Not secret, well, maybe most of them, yeah. Because he tuned into the frequencies and the harmonies. And, you could use your powers for good and evil, or whatever they chose to. I mean, I'm sure they fought evil, and there was, like, villains and evil people. It's like good and evil. But yeah, I just want to let you know I've been fasting since Sunday too. This is like a video for my fast. I should have been taking my weight, but I haven't eaten since Sunday at 10 o'clock in the morning. I had a big breakfast, and I'm just thankful for everything. And I'm right here this time, and just enjoying time itself, this moment. I'm gonna get this book with y'all, but if you have anything, any dreams, any like dreams, like where you're like flying, or doing things, moving things with your mind, I would like to hear. Okay, here we go. I digress. On Earth, according to Thoth, there are 5 totally different steps or levels of life that each human is going to pass through. When we reach the 5th level, we will make a transformation that transcends known life itself. That's the normal pattern. Follow the pattern, guys. That's what I'm saying. Each one of these levels of consciousness has many aspects that are different from the other levels. First, they have different chromosome levels. The first level of human consciousness has 42 and 2 chromosomes. The second level has 44 plus 2 chromosomes. The third one has 46 plus 2. The fourth, 48 plus 2. And finally 50 plus 2. Each level of human consciousness has a different body height associated with it. This might sound kind of funny if you never heard it before. Have you guys heard it? Have you guys heard this? I'm going to put the link to the Green Emerald tablets also, since we're talking about I always say his name back. Thoth or Thoth? Okay. Thoth. Okay. But, yeah, so, speaking about the chromosomes, the Gaia people are saying that if you meditate, you extend your chromosomes. I don't know if you guys heard that. So, we also have an app too. I thought you downloaded it. I haven't really messed with it, but here we go. The first level of 4222 has a range of a height somewhere between 4 and maybe 6 feet. The people who fall into the category specifically are the Aborigines in Australia, and I believe that certain tribes in Africa and South Africa also do. The second level of consciousness has 44 plus 2 chromosomes, and that's us. Our height is above 5 to 7 feet. We're a little taller than the first group. The third level height goes up considerably. The 46 to 2 chromosomes level interrupts the reality through what you could term unity of or Christ consciousness. The range of height is from about 10 to 6 feet tall. Then there's another range for the 4th level of consciousness, the 48 to seconds plus 2 seconds, who have a height of about 30 feet to 35 feet. The final band, the perfect human, is between 52 and 60 feet tall. They have 52 chromosomes. I suspect that the reason there are 52 cards in the in a book is related to those 52 chromosomes of the potential of man. Interesting. I never heard that. Oh, I probably did, but I can't remember. I read this book so long ago. That's why it's good to read it, because there's some things that, you know, that you got to read again. You got to keep reading to remember, like, oh shit. But the main things that have stuck out, I do remember from this book, and which is reading it again. And there's a volume 2 to this book, so I still haven't finished, and I should have finished this book a long time ago. But it takes time right now. So here we go. There are states between the consciousness levels, like Down syndrome. For example, Down syndrome happens when a person transitions from this second level of consciousness, which we are on, into the third level, but didn't quite make it. The person didn't get all the instructions right, and where he almost always fails in the left brain instructional aspects of the chromosome. A Down syndrome person has 45 to 2 chromosomes. He got one of them, but not the other. He or she got the emotional one, the heart one, all right. If you know any Down syndrome children, they are pure love, but they don't understand how to make the transition into their level of human consciousness. They are learning. See, and I talked about this in the other video, I think, like one of them, like this. Like, what about if we need all these people? Down syndrome, people with disabilities. Like, God never, He didn't judge them, but He fixed them, right? Like with his chi and his energy and his God, God inside of him. So, and it's true, these people are pure-hearted, and they don't know, and then they're brought up in different environments, like being, humiliated, and what happens out there. Then they start, seeing it, or it affects them psychologically, and they might go a little crazy, or you might not understand, and they might snap or something. I feel like since all this gene editing and all this stuff that's going on, they want to edit these genes and these chromosomes from these people and try to make these perfect humans in the future. But they're just going to be like robots and zombies, and no one's going to have any kind of emotions or, how to say, pure love. Everyone's going to be like just a freaking robot. So I feel like, when these people are born, maybe, help them out, but don't erase the gene, the edited gene. That person's never going to exist. But what about if they needed to exist to change some other person's reality, So here we go. There are states between consciousness levels. Okay, we read that. The second and fourth levels of consciousness are disharmonic, and the first, third, and the fifth levels are harmonic. You'll understand this when we see it in the geometries. When you look at human consciousness from a geometrical point of view, you can see the harmonic levels, and you can see that the disharmonic levels are simply out of balance. That's where we are right now, out of balance. These disharmonic levels are absolutely necessary. You can't get from level 1 to level 3 without passing through level 2. But 2 is a totally disharmonic consciousness. Does not chaos bring change? Does not chaos bring change? Yeah, a lot of change, a lot of different change. And what's changing the world right now is chaos. Chaos all over the globe, everywhere. It's just chaos. There's no rest, there's no peace, there's no stability. It's like a false stability for most parts of the world, but societies are crumbling. They want them to crumble. That's like the plan. That's what they do. Like the wars. If you look up in the last 2,000 years, there have been wars and wars. And I was watching that Napoleon documentary, and it was very interesting because they were talking about how they killed the Turkish soldiers in Gaza and all this stuff. And he was like, I guess he don't get too much into it, but he was like, not obsessed with Alexander, but like he would talk about him like, oh, what about it? You know, he was there, now I gotta be there. But basically, what I'm trying to say is like, and even before that, like when Alexander was there, and there was like wars and wars on the Gaza Strip, Palestine. There's been wars then all over those lands, so they're like not cursed, but they're like repeating probably cursed for sure, but they're repeating a cycle, like it's like a movie, and it's like keeps playing itself over and over, but at different times, with different weapons and different, you know, it's changing, it's always changing, but it's in the same land. The landscape might change a little bit, you know, but everything changes. And what doesn't change is people's eager to kill and take over their lands. And they've been doing it for thousands of years, especially in that region. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And instead of living like a whole, like, people, like not just different, you know, understand, but you have different beliefs and whatnot. But I think after the fall of Babel, that's when people went their way, and then the language changed and all these different things. And shit, if you think about if the aliens can erase your memory and your mind, what do you think God can do? He can probably do all that. Maybe it was aliens or you know, some kind of powerful force that did that. Yeah, and then it just makes me think it's just a simulation. We're just in a simulation where it's just like war and war and war, and then maybe they just want to see like, well, don't go to war. Like, who knows? Who freaking knows? But I like that. Here we go. Whenever a consciousness gets into the second or fourth level, it knows it can be there for only a short time. These levels are used as stepping stones, like a stone in the middle of the river. One you jump on and get off as soon as you can to get to the other side. You don't hang out there, because if you do, you'll fall in. If we were to hang out here on Earth, even just a little bit, no longer we would destroy our planet. We would destroy it by just being who we are. Exactly. Yet we are scared and necessary step in evolution. We are a bridge to another world, and we are living this bridge by just being alive in this critical time. Yes, very critical time indeed. Great time to be alive. Great time to change everything, to change the whole world, to change ourselves. The only way to change the world is to change yourself. When I was in deep meditations in 2013, 14, yeah, it was like 14, I woke up saying that. And to change the world, you gotta change yourself. So we're gonna end it there, but the next chapter, the darker side of our present and past. So that was that. Thank you guys for hearing me, and I gotta go because I gotta go. But if you have any ideas, comments, dreams, like to share or like to know, hit that comment section. hit that comment section. Let me know what y'all think.